KDLH-TV Duluth. Live from the broadcast center, this is the weekend edition of Channel 3 News. With Kurt Ludlow, Teresa Bryant, and Ray Higgins. Sponsored by Larson Chevrolet Oldsmobile, Superior, and by Super One Food Stores. The best food, the absolute lowest food prices.
Good evening, everyone. Still no word on the whereabouts of 3 Polish sailors who've asked immigration authorities for asylum in the United States. The Polish ship Ziemia Opolska sailed out of Duluth yesterday without the 3 sailors, a woman and 2 men. They jumped ship early Friday morning, turning themselves over to immigration authorities. Immigration officials in St. Paul have told us they have been approached by 3 people from the ship. The 3 are believed to be in a safe house in the immediate area. While one ship is leaving port, another is seeking one for the winter. The 86-year-old Victory Chimes will spend the winter in the Twin Ports, but just where has yet to be determined. Catherine O'Keefe has more.
Wooden schooner no sooner arrived in the Twin Ports, and its owners are already looking for a place to store it for the winter. Both Duluth and Superior want to put the boat up, but where she'll go hasn't been settled.
It's not an argument. We're working it out. We're negotiating it. I think that we'll probably be servicing both waterfronts. And
the 86-year-old boat has never weathered a winter like the one that's in store for it in the Twin Ports. So the crew and the captain are bracing for it.
It's going to be tough, and there's going to have to be a lot of preparation, a lot of careful preparation, and a lot of thought going into making sure the 86-year-old wood in this boat survives the harsh Minnesota winter.
Authorities say the boat won't leave the water because of cost, so the idea to bubble the boat for the winter is a good one. Bubbling a boat keeps the surrounding water from freezing by forcing compressed air into the water. The bubbling process is usually successful, but there is always a risk.
Breakage of the boat or anything like that I don't think is going to happen. I think it's they're better off here if they get a right location. It'd be nice to have a current available too to bring the warm water into them so they can bubble it up. Otherwise, yeah, something could go wrong.
The Victory Chimes hasn't seen a flood of tourism since its arrival, and the weather is being blamed for that. But the attitude for next season is positive.
Not what we'd like, not as much as we'd like, but you know, given the circumstances and just getting here, we're not negative on it, and we are going to do better.
Catherine O'Keefe, Channel 3 News.
The U.S. Army Corps of Engineers says the Duluth Superior Harbor is the 11th largest port in the United States. According to figures compiled from 1984, more than 37 million short tons of cargo went through the Twin Ports. That compares with more than 161 million short tons of cargo shipped through New York Harbor. New York is the largest port in the country, followed by New Orleans, Houston, and Valdez Harbor in Arkansas. Duluth Superior is the only port on the Great Lakes to be ranked in the top 15. One man drowned after slipping into a rain-gorged culvert, and another died in a Jeep accident in the wake of torrential rains that dumped about 5 inches in St. Charles, Minnesota, and other areas of the southern part of the state overnight. About 40 people were evacuated from a St. Charles trailer court, 80 people evacuated from Rochester. In the Twin Cities, officials say about 2,000 people are without power. 2 men drowned while a third escaped injury when their car flipped over into the Rice Lake Dam spillway near Duluth. Rice Lake police officers say the car struck the edge of the Rice Lake Dam early yesterday morning. The driver apparently lost control and the car flipped into the water. 1 man was able to swim free. The other 2 died in the submerged car. The names of the victims are being withheld pending notification of next of kin. Duluth firefighters are still on the scene of a fire that engulfed a vacant house tonight. Firefighters were called to the building around 9 o'clock. When crews arrived, flames were shooting out of the building. Authorities say it's still much too early to speculate on the cause of the fire. However, arson has not been ruled out. 6 firefighters remain at the scene. Still to come on Channel 3 News, there's a new look in Duluth. It's the 1980s answer to long hair and peace signs. And our lighter side segment will show you what one 4-year-old boy does for fun after this.
Wife started shopping at Super One instead of Supermarket, she'd save about $15 a week. Come your birthday, it could make a big difference. Super One.
Say so long to tough chicken. And say hello to tender, juicy chicken at a great price. Come into Kentucky Fried Chicken right now for 9 pieces of original recipe chicken plus 4 fresh buttermilk biscuits. Just $5.99. It's our bargain bucket. So why settle for some tough bird when you can save on chicken that's tender and juicy? Kentucky Fried Chicken's bargain bucket, just $5.99.
Kentucky Fried Chicken, we do chicken right.
Some workers from reserve mining will be trained this week for a new vocation. About 21 workers will learn boiler operation during a special class in Babbitt. The class is sponsored by the Northeast Minnesota Office of Job Training under a grant from the State Job Training Office. Other classes for electrical certification and welding are being planned for the idle reserve workers. It's an opportunity for some of them to develop skills which could lead to a new job. Governor Rudy Perpich's Cannonball Road Rally has come to an end. More than 30 drivers from across the country are packing up and going home. And as Linda Hammond reports, they may be leaving, but they're leaving behind their entrepreneurial spirit. And some may even be bringing that spirit back to northeastern Minnesota someday.
The cars were flashy, the drivers were flashy, and that, say Chamber of Commerce officials, is exactly how they wanted residents to perceive the event.
It was to entice people, I guess, to think about success. You know, all the pretty cars and all the flash is just the tip of the iceberg. The real meat in this is the idea of entrepreneurial development throughout northeast Minnesota.
Officials estimate the 30 drivers may have raised as much as $25,000, money that will stay right here in northeastern Minnesota.
The money will be used for private sector programs, especially that are aimed towards entrepreneurial development.
For many of these drivers, like Tony Bernheim, the Northland was very impressive.
I spent a little bit of the time in this race driving around and seeing the countryside, and I hope to soon to come into Duluth and build some shopping centers.
Tony's planning on talking to me later on. He's asked to meet with us, and he's serious. He wants to do something here. He wants to participate in the upper Midwest economically, and we'll be glad to help him do that.
Chamber of Commerce has developed a President's Forum. Corporation presidents from all over the U.S. will come to Duluth and give advice on how to start a business here. Officials say the meetings will raise the level of entrepreneurial spirit in northeastern Minnesota. Linda Hammond, Channel 3 News.
Governor Rudy Perpich says it will be easier to defeat IR gubernatorial candidate Cal Ludeman in the general election than it was to fend off St. Paul Mayor George Latimer in the primary. Both Perpich and Ludeman spoke in Mankato yesterday. While Perpich was confident, Ludeman urged him not to underestimate the IR challenge. Ludeman says a recent poll shows him trailing the governor by 13 to 15 percentage points, slightly less than the margin Perpich won over Latimer in the primary. And on a related note, a statewide survey shows about half of the 657 candidates seeking office in the state have no opposition in the November election. The survey shows that Red Lake and Big Stone are two counties where all the county offices will be filled this year without any opposition. The president of the Association of Minnesota Counties says the lack of opposition shows people are generally happy with the performance of county officials. There's a new look in Duluth among the city's young people. Call it chic punk or bargain basement leftovers. The kids take it seriously. As Michelle Lee reports now, it's reminiscent of an earlier generation which faced similar reactions.
The 1960s and early 70s had the hippies, the flower children, and the war protesters. About the best way to alienate yourself from your parents was to become one. 20 years later, the young continue to assert their differences.
We don't like to be like other kids.
But in a sense, by not wanting to look like other kids, you look like everybody else. I mean, in your group.
Yeah, but it's a small minority compared to, you know, all the other trendy kids out there.
I go to school and come home, watch TV, listen to music, go skateboard for a while or something.
The parents of today's kids, for the most part, hail from the 60s era. Many are the stockbrokers, politicians, and educators that now help to shape the country. Their kids will lead in the next century. And while there may be more understanding of today's methods of expression, some things never change.
My mom didn't care for it too much, but I mean, it's my hair and my nose, you know, I mean, there's not much she can do about it.
If you've been wondering, yes, it hurt a bit when his nose was pierced. It's fine now. As for the hair, lots and lots of hairspray. Michelle Lee, Channel 3 News.
Up next on Channel 3 News, the Minnesota Vikings seem to move the earth as they crushed the Steelers today. And one 4-year-old boy we know actually does move the earth. This is no joke. After this, from the Duluth Clinic.
This is Partners in Health.